Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. This is the latest 10 HPA temperature anomalies over the Northern Hemisphere, and you can see the very strong warming taking place. If we get back to the right chart, it would certainly help. You can see the anomalous warming taking place out of Siberia in across the top of the pole, and that has significantly displaced the polar vortex towards the North Atlantic as well as across Europe here. But there is a real battleground taking place here. I think we've got a real push of tropical forcing, the El Nino. I think, anyway, along with other aspects such as the approach to a solar maximum, is all having competing forces, so to speak. So we've got this stratospheric warming situation taking place at the moment. We've seen a strong warming taking place back in January, and yet we have got what is arguably an overwhelmingly warm pattern. This is the temperature anomalies for the month to date. So through the first 20 days of the month, you can see that we have got a very, very warm planet overall. Yes, we've got areas of below average parts of northern Africa, southwestern and western China here. We've got far eastern Russia seeing slightly below average. Scandinavia continues with this exceptional spell of 5 consecutive months below average. We've got a blowtorch over North America, and as well as that, here in Europe, we have got quite the contrast between Scandinavia and the rest of Europe here. Firmly warmer than average, and we do have a powerful jet stream to speak about as well. This is a tweet, by the way, from Dr. Simon Lee. This was published about 15 hours ago, and he says that per the 6 hourly analysis from the GFS, a major SSW, sun stratospheric warming, marginally did not occur today, 19th of February, which was obviously yesterday here, and it is quite possible that, if not highly likely, that reanalysis will differ from this and from one another. So it looks as if we did see a marginal reversal in the mean zonal winds, constituting the definition of a major sun stratospheric warming. It looks as if we came mighty close to that in the last 24 hours or so, but yet we are not seeing any evidence of this response down into the lower portions of the atmosphere, i.e. the troposphere. And even with the upcoming 5 day period, this is of the GFS ensembles, and really the only part of Europe that is expected to be below average is actually northwestern Scotland. Almost everywhere in Europe seen by the GFS ensemble is running above average, with a really warm anomaly across the heart of Europe up into Scandinavia, interestingly enough. And as we play through the loop, you do notice that there is a cooling trend takes place period between the 22nd and the 27th of February. And the reason why is we've got that area of high pressure that's been firmly anchored to the south of the UK, driving all sorts of warmth across not only the UK and Ireland, but across the majority of Europe. That area of high pressure is expected to scoot on west and northwest up towards the North Atlantic, and we will see something colder as we move towards the latter half of this work week. But the jet stream across the entire northern hemisphere is roaring at the moment. Back last month, we've seen near record flight times between Taiwan and the western side of North America, in excess of 10 hours to go from one side of the Pacific to the other. Go back westwards and you're adding 4 or even 5 hours onto your flight time. That was thanks to the atmospheric river that drove all sorts of tremendous moisture into western North America. We've seen the same thing taking place on our side of the hemisphere, Western Europe, driven in by a powerful jet stream that has been pretty dominant throughout the course of the winter. There's no getting away from that. We've had a few spells of colder, more blocky patterns, early December, mid-January, but it really has overwhelmed the pattern, this warm Atlantic or Pacific driven pattern across North America, across Europe. And you can see here, as we play through the next few days, we have got a powerful 265 mile per hour jet that is exiting North America, that is heading our way, and we are going to see the next series of frontal systems moving across the country in the next few days. So that hose pipe of moisture continues. So this was an article issued by the Washington Post back last month saying a roaring tailwind just hurled a passenger plane at 826 miles per hour across the Pacific Ocean. This is an article by the Capital Weather Gang, also associated with the Washington Post, saying the planes flying eastbound at in excess of 800 miles an hour with near record jet stream winds. That is a 265 mile per hour jet over Washington, D.C. That is the second strongest upper level wind ever recorded, I believe, here. And so the Pacific and the Atlantic doing this thing, driving ocean air across the continents and keeping things rather mild to say the least. Why we're seeing very strong jet stream winds? Well, we've got big contrast in the temperature and the air masses here. We had a massive 90 Celsius difference across China alone. Now I know China is a very, very large country, but we see minus 52 in one end of the country and 38 Celsius on the other end. And that is what drives these powerful jet streams exiting Asia, crossing over the Pacific. We're seeing contrasts over North America. That then in turn helps fuel a strong jet stream across the Atlantic also. But you can see here, this is the 850 temperature anomaly chart here. So this is compared to average. And we've got plenty of lobes of cold. But notice the amount of warmer compared to the colder. Yes, you could argue that we've got plenty of cold air over the far east of Asia, but we've got plenty of warmth. Notice here that the flat nature of the contrast here. This is over the North Pacific here. Very cold air to the north, very, very warmer to the south. And that is what's driving this powerful jet stream across the Pacific. Now we're seeing a little bit of a amplification to that jet as it moves across the Pacific. It then buckles a little bit. We've got warmer air moving up into Alaska. That then in turn allows some of that discharge, that breaking off of Arctic air, polar air into North America. We've seen snow events across parts of the upper Midwest and the Northeast over the last few days. But again, the warmth is driving the pattern across the entire northern hemisphere. But notice here, look at this area of cold air dropping out of Hudson Bay into the northeastern half of the United States. But we've got a lobe of very, very warmer getting then lifted northwards. And that is what's going to help drive something a little bit colder towards the end of this week here. So this is Saturday the 24th of February. Cold air coming south, warmer then to the east of that goes northwards up towards Greenland, and therefore in turn we have colder air getting pushed southwards over the UK and Ireland here. We're going to maintain this unsettled low pressure dominated pattern, but what we are going to see is we're going to see a little bit of a shift in the wind direction. Rather than being from a west to southwest direction, it's going to be more of a west to northwest direction, and that's going to allow some of this colder air to move southwards. But look at here how we've got this very warm air getting lifted north over the far west of Russia up towards the pole. We're also seeing this tremendous injection of subtropical air. Obviously it cools as it moves northwards, but look at the anomaly here compared to average. You're talking probably close to 30 Celsius above average getting drafted northwards up into Greenland, along with this piece of unusually warm air as well. So notice here how the two of them connect. This is very interesting stuff. Look at what's starting to take place. As we move towards the end of the month, the system becomes more dynamic, the overall weather system I'm talking about. Notice here that we have got colder air getting forced southwards over the western side of North America. In turn, we're seeing tremendous warmth getting lifted northwards to the east of that. And with that, essentially, that block of cold air that's getting forced down the western flank of North America is actually courtesy to an extent with the sudden stratospheric warming that we're seeing, but also the amount of warm air that's getting driven north, both up through the Baffin Straits, but also to the north of the Ural Mountains here, and the two connecting forces this lobe of cold air to get driven southwards over Western North America here. We've also got a lobe of cold air, but not as intense as what we see over North America. Notice how it's getting driven southwards through the UK and Ireland, France, Iberia, into the northwest of Africa here. So very, very dynamic but fascinating situation taking place. And then as we continue to skip through the sequence, as we move out of February into the early portions of March, it's going to get very interesting to see how the dynamics take place here. Now, very, very heavy precipitation. We've got a new atmospheric river situation likely developing in California and the western United States. We are also going to see further significant rainfall between now and the beginning of March here. But notice something. If you look at the total accumulated precipitation of the GFS, you can see here that the heaviest rainfall, rather than being focused over the UK, Ireland, and even to the north, it's now getting forced southwards into France, into northern Iberia here, because the jet is getting forced south, and it's getting forced south because of what I just showed you, how the colder and the warmer is intermingling with each other and forcing a much more dynamic but also more amplified pattern in the mid latitudes here. So a very complex situation is taking place. I'm going to do my very best over the next few days to show you exactly what all this means for our weather here in the UK, Ireland, and Western Europe, but also looking at the big picture as well. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I do greatly appreciate your support. I will hopefully be back tomorrow with more busy days to come, so stay tuned, and I'll see you hopefully tomorrow with another weather update. Bye for now.